was engaged in reading his favorite manga while going to his next class. Unknowingly, Jenny, who is 50 meters away coming from the opposite direction, is also reading her report for her next class. If the distance between them is gradually getting smaller by 1 meter per second, how long before they bump into each other? The problem involving Eugene and Jenny is an example of a motion-related problem involving linear equations. Motion-related problems are problems that make use of the formula d is equal to ax plus b, where d is the distance, a is the constant speed or the constant rate the object is moving per unit time, x pertains to the time the object has moved, and b pertains to the initial distance if there is one. Incidentally, it looks very similar to the slope-intercept form of the linear equation y is equal to mx plus b. Almost all, if not all, word problems involving linear equation are this form. Let us break down the steps needed to solve the given problem. First, read, understand, and analyze the problem. Illustrate in order to visualize the problem. Step 2. Determine the dependent and independent variables in the problem. Set the dependent variable to d and the independent variable to x. Step 3. Compute for the slope and set that has a or the rate the objects is are moving. If it is needed, compute for the initial distance or b. And step 4, solve the problem. Okay, let's have the problem again. Eugene was engaged in reading his favorite manga while going to his next class. Unknowingly, Jenny, who is 50 meters away coming from the opposite direction, is also reading her report for her next class. If the distance between them is gradually getting smaller by 1 meter per second, how long before they jump into each other? Okay, let's start with step 1. Read, understand, and analyze the problem. Illustrate in order to visualize the problem. Okay, let's analyze the problem step by step. So first, we are talking about two people. So you have Eugene, and you also have Jenny. According to the problem, yung distance daw between them is 50 meters. Ayan, 50 meters coming away from the opposite direction. So, ito si Eugene. So, sa opposite direction niya, nandun si Jenny. At yung distance between them daw ay 50 meters. Ngayon, bakit yung arrow heading towards the center? Kasi ang sabi, eventually, magbabump to each other sila. Pero paano? By 1 meter per second. So, kada segundo, palapit sila ng palapit ng 1 meter sa isa't isa until eventually silang dalawa magbangga sa isa't isa. Okay, let's have step 2. Determine the dependent and independent variables in the problem. Set the dependent variable to d and the independent variable to x. Okay, analyze natin isa-isa. Eugene was engaged in reading his favorite manga and so on and so forth. So this is the problem. In this case, the distance between Eugene and Jenny is dependent on the time they are walking. So ano ibig sabihin nun? Yung distance between them, nakadepende siya dun sa time na habang naglalakad sila. Kasi hindi naman liliit yung distance nila kung hindi sila maglalakad. So meaning, kung walang paglalakad na mangyayari, hindi rin sila magbabump into each other. So, yung distance nila hindi liliit. Kaya yung distance, ayan, nakadepende siya, dependent on the time they are walking. So, meaning, our dependent variable, d, is the distance between them. Yung distance. And then, bawat segundo, bawat time. Then, the distance between them shortens by 1 meter per second. Thus, a is negative 1 meter per second. Bakit siya negative? Kasi lumiliit. Papalapit sila ng papalapit. Hindi naman sila palayo ng palayo, kaya negative. Initially, there are 50 meters apart thus. B is 50 meters. So, yun yung distance. So, balikan natin yung kanina. Diba sabi natin, we use, eto, B is equal to AX plus B. Take note yung A is the constant speed or rate the object moving per unit. So, lagay muna natin dito. Okay. So, how do we follow it? Okay. So, our given formula a while ago, we have D is equal to AX plus B. So, according to the given a while ago, yung A mo dito is the constant speed of the moving object or units. So, ano ba yung constant speed nung dalawang objects o yung dalawang tao? Si Jenny at si Eugene, constant nagmo-move sila ng gaano ka laki in a given time. So, you have 1 meter per second. So, silang dalawa, si Jenny at si Eugene, eventually magbabangga dito sa gitna kasi yung distance nila lumalapit ng 1 meter per second. Kaya nga nag-negative kasi papalapit ng papalapit. Hindi naman palayo na pa, hindi naman nadadagdagan, nababawasan ng 1 meter hanggang mag-meet sila sa gitna. Then they are 50 meters apart, thus B is 50 meters. But again, ano ba yung symbolizes or ano ba yung meaning ng B natin kanina? Yung B natin kanina pertains to the initial distance. Starting distance nila. So, yung starting distance nilang dalawa ay 50. Kaya yung B ay 50. Ma'am, ba't hindi D? Yung D ay yung distance nila after na nangyari. Yung hinahanap mong distance for that problem. So, kung babalik tayo dito, let's analyze it again. Yan. So, yung eto, ang dependent variable mo ay yung distance sa papalapit ng papalapit per second. Ito, yung after na nilang magbunggo. Saan siya naka-dependent? Doon sa variable x, which is, ano ba yung variable s? Yung time na nag-walk sila. So, yun yung hinahanap mo. Kailan sila magbabanggaan sa isa't isa. So, meron ka ng A, ito yung speed, which is this one. Meron ka ng B, yung initial, yung starting distance nila, which is 50 meters. And then, yung X mo, ito yung nawawala kasi hinahanap mo yung time kung kailan sila totally magbabanggaan. So, ito, ano ibig sabihin nito? Syempre, kung nagbanggaan na silang dalawa, may distance pa ba between them? Wala na. Nagsi-zero na kasi magkabangga na nga sila. So, ibig sabihin, if we will go to the next step, this one, distance D is the dependent variable. Ito, nakadepende siya kung ano yung time. So, kung magkakabanggaan na sila, anong time yun? So, nakadepende siya dun sa time. And then, yung ito, yung negative 1m over s, so 1 meter per second. So, go back to your, sa grade 7, yung may mga conversion, yung may mga distance. So, the rate of the distance shortens. Kaya negative, kasi nag-shorten siya. 50 is the initial, yung starting distance ng dalawa. Then, x is the independent variable. Ito yung time. So, yun yung hinahanap natin. So, since ito, yung distance nila, kailangan maging 0 na sa isa't isa para magbanggaan sila. So, 0 is equal to negative 1 meter per second times x, yung time, and then plus 50 kasi gaano sila katagal magbabanggaan para maging, or gaano katagal yung kailangan nila para maging 0 yung distance sa isa't isa nila kung 50 yung initial. So, last step is solve the problem. So, when we're about to solve the problem, so eto, dito ka magsa-start. So, 0, just change the color of the pen. Okay, so you have 0 is equal to quantity negative 1 m over s times x plus 50. So, katulad ng ginagawa natin before, we isolate the variables. Kailangan sa isang side lang yung may variable, tapos sa isang side yung mga walang variable. So, ito, yung x, pwedeng dito na siya, pero yung 50 dito, may 50 ka pa. So, ang goal mo is mawala yung 50. So, para mawala yung 50, you can do addition property of equality, or you can do yung shortcut natin na transpose. So, if you will do addition property of equality, so magma-minus 50 or mag-add ako ng negative 50 dyan. So, dapat dito magkaroon din ng negative 50. Kasi kung ano yung nilagay mo sa right side of the equation, you should also do it on the left side or in any side of the equation. So, ito, simplifying. So, you have negative 50 is equal to, just copy this, negative 1 meter per second times x. And then 50 minus 50 is just 0. Di ba ang goal natin is, kung ano yung numerical coefficient ni variable, yun yung pang-divide ng equation. If you go back to our lesson, before, may ganun tayong example. And then, ang mangyayari dito is, since ito ang goal mo is yung x lang ang makuha, so ito dapat mawala. Para siyang yung dati, you have 2x is equal to 50. Kunyari ganyan. Di ba dapat yung x dito, ang numerical coefficient ay 1 lang. So, what we do, we divide both sides by 2 para maging x is equal to 25. Ito yung example dati natin. Ganyan. To solve for x. So, dito, ganun din. To solve for x, you divide both equation by the numerical coefficient of the x. So, magkakaroon ka ng negative 1 meter per second x. As divide both sides by. So, ito, syempre, ano ba unit of measurement ni 50? Di ba, meters yan kanina. So, pwede mo na siya lagyan dyan ng meters. So, magiging divided by negative 1 meter per second. Tapos, ito, divide mo din ng negative 1 meter per second. And then, you still have your x. So, ito, pag dinivide mo to, di ba magiging, negative 50 meters times, di ba, pag nagdi-divide ng whole number sa fraction, ito magiging inverse niya. So, magiging negative s over 1 meter. So, pwede naman negative din sa baba. Equal to x. So, ito, pag tinimes mo siya, negative times negative positive. Tapos, di ba, ito may over 1 din yan. So, m, tapos yung m dito mawawala. Para ka nagko-convert nung grade 7 kayo. So, negative 50 times negative seconds. So, that would be 50. Diba yung S natin ay seconds is equal to X. So, meaning, magbabanggaan sila sa isa't isa or magkakabanggaan sila after 50 or pag naka 50 seconds na sila. So, kung babalik tayo dito kanina sa figure natin, to, so, mag-reach sila ng dito yung certain point na nasa gitna kapag naka 50 seconds na. Magbabanggaan na sila. So, kung 1 second, mag-minus 1 meter, -1, -1, hanggang maging 0 na yung distance nila sa isa't isa. At anong time yon? How long? How long before? So, that is 50 seconds. Let's have our problem number 2. In Eugene's bakery, they sell each pandesal at 5 pesos per piece. However, it costs them 250 pesos to make. If their overhead is 1,000 pesos per day, what is their break-even point? Okay, let's analyze first the keyword. When we say overhead, that is also what we call total cost o kabuuang gastos. Pero ano muna yung ibig sabihin ng break-even? So, break-even is a term used in business. It is the point where you do not gain, but you also do not lose money either. In other words, the revenue is equal to the total cost. So, yung revenue is yung, ano ba muna yung revenue? So, yung revenue ay yung kabuuang kita, tapos yung cost ay ang kabuuang gastos. So, meaning, wala kang tubo. Kasi yung kita mo, equal lang dun sa nagastos mo. Para kang bumili ng sapatos na worth 2,000 pesos, tapos binenta mo siya ng 2,000 pesos din, so wala kang tubo. Parehas lang yung revenue mo sa gastos mo. So meaning, binili mo siya ng 2,000, binenta mo siya ng 2,000, wala kang tubo. So, that is break even. So, dito sa problem na to, tinatanong kung kailan magiging ganun, break even. So, meaning wala kang tubo or equal yung revenue mo sa cost mo. Okay, let's analyze each part of the problem. So, yung una, si Eugene, may bakery siya, natitinda siya ng pandesal ng 5 pesos per piece. So, tapos, pero syempre, yung cost niya, 250 per piece. Kunyari, yung kabuuang gastos niya sa kada tinapay, kada pandesal ay 2 pesos and 50 centavos, pero naibebenta niya yun ng 5 pesos. Ngayon, hinahanap, kailan yung magkakaroon ng break-even point? Yung wala siyang tubo. Pantay yung gastos niya sa kita niya. So, balik tayo dun sa general formula for this kind of problem. Okay, let's analyze this problem step by step. So, in your module, you have your P is equal to R minus C. So, ano ibig sabihin yan? Yung profit daw, yung tubo, equal siya sa revenue minus cost. So, yung revenue ay kung magkano mo siya binenta minus dun sa kabuuang gastos. O yung kabuuang kita minus sa kabuuang gastos. So, ano ibig sabihin niya? Kunyari, bumili ka ng sapatos. Yung sapatos na binili mo ay 2,500. Tapos binenta mo siya ng 3,000. So, para makuha yung tubo, 3,000 minus 2,500, ang tubo mo ay 500. So, ganun yun. Ito, this one can be translated to as P is equal to A minus B times X minus C. So, yung profit mo dito, yung revenue mo dito, pinalitan mo lang ng quantity A minus B times X. Ano ibig sabihin yan? Yung A dito is kung magkano mo siya binebenta per piece. At yung B dito ay kung magkano yung gastos mo per piece times kung ilang piraso. Then, minus dun sa total cost mo. So, ito, sinasabi natin kanina, when we say break even, equal lang yung revenue at yung cost. So, meaning, yung profit mo o yung tubo mo ay zero. Wala kang tubo kasi equal lang nga lang yung dalawa. Bumili ka ng 2,000 pesos sa sapatos, binenta mo ng 2,000 pesos, so wala kang tubo. Yung A dito ay kung magkano siya per piece pag yung kita mo. So, that is 5 pesos per piece. And then, yung letter B dito ay kung magkano yung gastos mo per piece. So, that is 2 pesos and 50 centavos. Tapos yung cost mo ay overhead. Ito, overhead is the cost, 1,000 per day. So, pawalitan mo lang to. So, 0, kasi yung P mo ay 0, wala kang kita, break even, wala kang tubo. I mean, hindi pala kita, wala kang tubo. Kasi profit is equal to times the quantity of 5 minus 2.50. Then, times X, hindi mo alam kung ilan yung dapat mong mabenta. Yun ang hinahanap mo yung breaking point. Ilan yung dapat mong mabenta para magpantay lang yung revenue at cost. Mag-equal lang sila. Minus 1,000 pesos. So, 0 is equal to 5 minus 2.5 is just 2.50. Then, just copy X minus 1,000. So, papasok na naman tayo sa APE. Ang gusto mong mawala dito yung minus 1,000. So, mag-a-add ka ng positive 1,000. So, dito mag-a-add ka din ng positive 1,000. So, this will become 1,000 is equal to 2.50x. Tapos, ito magiging 0 na lang. So, dahil ang numerical coefficient pa ni x ay 2.50. So, divide both sides by 2.50. Tapos, ito divide mo din ng 2.50. So, 1,000 divided by 2.50 is 400. So, x is equal to 400. So, meaning, kailangan maka 400 pieces ka ng pandesal para yung revenue mo equal lang sa cost. So, meaning, kapag umabot ka ng 400, wala kang tubo. So, kung mas mababa sa 400, lugi ka. Kasi mas malaki yung cost mo kaysa dun sa kita mo. Pag tumaas ng 400 yung nabenta mo, may tubo ka na.